Hey everyone, and welcome. So if you've ever opened your AWS bill, taken one look at your glue costs, and just thought, how on earth did that happen? Well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we are going to tackle that beast. Let's get this thing under control.
You know, it's a classic nightmare scenario, right? Your data pipelines are humming along, everything seems totally fine, and then, bam, the bill drops and your glue costs have just exploded. It's a super common problem, but the good news is it's absolutely solvable. And really, it all boils down to this one simple idea. This is our mantra. We're not just trying to slash costs for the sake of it. The real goal here is peak efficiency, using fewer compute resources for a shorter amount of time, all while making sure our critical jobs still finish when they're supposed to. Okay, so before we dive in, let's get on the same page about what a DPU, or a data processing unit, actually is. This is the thing you're paying for in Glue. Just think of it like this. For every single job, you're hiring a team of temporary workers. The more workers you hire, that's your DPUs, and the longer they're on the clock, the more you're going to pay. Our whole goal is to hire a smaller, smarter crew that gets the job done way faster.
So how do we actually do that? Well, we're going to break it down into 3 pillars of optimization. And our very first pillar is all about making the smart choice before a job even kicks off. It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right out of the gate, you have a huge choice to make: standard versus flex jobs. Standard is your go-to for those critical jobs that have to start right now. But flex is your secret weapon. It's a significantly cheaper option for any work that isn't super time-sensitive. Now, what's the catch? Well, flex jobs might have to wait in a queue for a bit. But just by classifying your jobs based on urgency, you can pull one of the biggest cost-saving levers there is.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Just look at how many common workloads are absolutely perfect for flex. Think about it: backfilling old data, running those end-of-day summary reports, compacting tons of small files. Even your dev and test jobs are prime candidates. I mean, take a second to think about your own pipelines. How many of your jobs fit these descriptions? Moving them to flex is an immediate, easy win. Okay, another part of choosing the right tool is right sizing. And please, don't just throw the biggest, most expensive machine at every problem. This simple 3-step process is your playbook. You start small, with a small worker type. If it crashes with memory errors, okay, fine, you need a bigger type of worker. But, and this is key, if it runs fine but it's just slow, don't upgrade the size. Just add more workers of that same small size. This is how you avoid over-provisioning and paying for power you just don't need.
All right, that was pillar 1. Now, let's move on to pillar 2. Once you've picked the right tool for the job, the next big step is to look at what's actually happening inside that job. We need to make our jobs leaner, meaner, and way more efficient.
So where do we even begin to focus our efforts? This chart tells you everything you need to know. It shows you exactly where most of your money, your DPU hours, is actually going. And the 3 biggest culprits are almost always, number 1, scanning all that source data. Number 2, shuffling it all around during transformations, and number 3, writing it out to the destination. If we can shrink the work in these 3 areas, we can make a massive dent in our costs.
And here's exactly how we do it. To cut down on all that scanning, you want to use things like partition pruning and push-down predicates. That's basically just telling Glue, hey, only read this very specific slice of data I need. To reduce the shuffle, you have to tackle the small file problem by compacting them before they even get to Glue. And of course, a super easy one. Drop any columns you don't need as early as you possibly can. Remember, every single byte you avoid reading and shuffling is money back in your pocket.
You know, one of the most powerful things you can do to make your jobs leaner is to just stop reprocessing the same data over and over again. This is where incremental patterns are a game changer. You can enable Glue bookmarks or use date filters in your queries to basically tell your job, hey, just process the stuff that's new since the last time you ran. It's such a simple concept, but it has a massive impact on your DPU usage.
Okay, let's get to our third and final pillar, and this one's a big one. Because cost optimization, it's not a one-time project. It's not something you do once and then forget about. The absolute best way to keep costs down for good is to treat it like a continuous cycle, a flywheel of improvement. And that cycle always begins with one thing: visibility. I mean, you can't optimize what you can't see, right? So step 1 is you have to monitor your key metrics. You need to be tracking DPU hours per job. You need to watch how much data it's reading and how its runtime changes over time. This data is the absolute foundation for everything else you're going to do.
Once you have that data, you can move to step 2,
identifying your targets. And look, don't try to fix everything all at once. You gotta apply the 80-20 rule here. Find that handful of jobs that are responsible for like 80% of your costs. These are your top offenders, and focusing all your energy right there is gonna give you the biggest, fastest wins.
And now we complete the loop with step 3. You take those top jobs you just found, you apply all the awesome right-sizing and efficiency tricks we've been talking about, and then you go right back to step 1. You monitor the results, you see the impact, and you find your next biggest cost driver. This is how you build a real culture of continuous cost control.
So let's recap the whole strategy. It's really just these 3 pillars. First, choose the right tool. Classify your jobs and use Flex whenever you can. Second, make those jobs leaner. Read less data, shuffle less data. And third, turn it all into a continuous cycle. Monitor, identify, and iterate. And that brings us to the end. So I'm going to leave you with one very actionable question. Take a look at your own AWS environment. Right now, what is one non-urgent job that you could switch over to Glue Flex today? Seriously, finding that first win, that's the key to finally taming the beast and getting your glue costs back under your control.